start with this. I just wanted to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oida Hashem Oida Fi. We'll probably still do an official book launch of some kind, but this is the brand new sefer. It's called From My Heart to Yours, and it just says not for resale because this is the very first copy printed. And essentially it's a collection of teachings that are really writings that I was zocha to publish in many different fora, different mediums over the 3-year period from 2017 to 2020. So basically it's split into 3 different sections, as you can see: essays, musings, and poems.
What does musings mean?
Musings is just a collection of shorter thoughts. Like this is the musing section. You can see just some of them are very short, some of them are a little bit longer, and just a random collection of thoughts on tshuva, man's eternal search, the true challenge, the Jewish day, the mirror of the holy. These are some of the.
Rav Nachman that you said you explained. Rav Nachman has stories and.
That's another book. That's the story of our lives. That book's already out. Yeah, so this is the newest one. So the essays are on a wide range of different topics. Some of them are stories that I actually experienced. This is a very interesting one. It's called a Chai Elul message from prison that somebody actually sent me and gave me permission to publish. Remarkable stuff. Maybe I'll even read that. Maybe we'll start by reading that because it's not so long.
You started writing when you were like 21?
No, not really. 23. Or so, yeah. But I didn't. Well, let's say I didn't start writing it because I didn't intend for this to be a book. It was just eventually when I looked back and saw that I had enough to publish. So Baruch Hashem, we're publishing it. There are essays on the different chagim, each yantiv, basically pretty much. I don't think we have for Sukkot. We have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Chanukah and Purim, Pesach, etc.
We is not you privately, but Lecha.
Me and Hashem, I don't know. When I said we?
Yeah.
We. The royal we. And it's something very special because it's books are very challenging. Oftentimes they're very long and it's a huge project. And very few people actually start a book and get to the end. A few people do, but not everybody gets to really go through the whole entire thing from beginning to end. And so when you have a project where you can just pick it off the shelf and different times of year you can learn different segments of it, or the musing section, you just turn to it and it just gives you a tiny thought. Huh? Yeah, exactly. I'll just read you just one of the in the musing section. It's a tiny little segment called Compelled to Look Up. And I wrote, sometimes I'm working online and I have a few other tabs open, Gmail, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. If I'm expecting an important email or in need of a good old dopamine hit, provided by some juicy likes or comments to boost my self-esteem. Full disclosure, the latter is more usually the case. I find my eyes wandering from the page I should be focusing on up to those wonderful little tabs to see if there are any new notifications. I am fairly certain I'm not alone in this behavior. Yeah? Not alone? We know what that is, to look up and see, So I wrote, now how wonderful would it be if throughout all the activities of our day, from the most mundane, dressing, eating breakfast, taking care of the kids, driving to work, to the most spiritual, davening, learning, acts of chesed, we felt continuously compelled to look up, not for the illusory validation provided by social media, but to the ever-present love of our Father in heaven. Just look up to the tabs, Could you imagine the relationship with Hashem we could build if we developed this holy habit? So this is like the type of thing, short little reflections, small little things. But I do want to begin by sharing, once I turn to it, the Chai El from prison. Just find it. Yeah, well, I think that it comes out sort of in the thing. Basically, but let's say, Chai, yes, that is. Yeah, or the day before the 19th. Chai Elul is the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov. And so, as particularly in Chabad, and the yard side of the...
and the birthday of...
No, the yard side of the Maggid Mizrich. No, that's Yak Kislev, sorry.
The birthday of the Balatanya.
Also the birthday of the Balatanya. Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Or maybe I did know that. I don't know. But generally speaking, for the bulk of Hasidim, it's the birthday of the Baal Shem. So he writes like this: 7 years. This is how long I have been incarcerated. According to the laws of nature, I have a few more years to go. He's almost done. That's what he says. During these 7 years, one would think that tshuva would come easily considering the circumstances. In truth, when I first got arrested, this was indeed true. Up until that point, I wasn't living an authentic Jewish life. But when I got arrested, I changed. I recognized the Creator, I sang to Him, I thanked Him, I became more frum, I danced in my cell alone Friday nights, I reached out to the other Yidden with messages of hope, I learned, I taught, I became close to Hashem. But then I realized that I was fooling myself. I realized I was doing tshuva as a segula, as a way of fooling the Creator, so He might grant me a verdict of not guilty, or at least a far shorter sentence than I originally had received. And while we believe that everything a Yid does creates an impact above, the tshuva of that period did not feel very real. In the end, I was convicted and incidentally received the minimum amount of years, which was in truth a miracle. During the 2.5 years awaiting sentencing in the following year, my journey of Yiddishkeit was all over the place. I davened, I didn't daven, I put tefillin on most days. I ate kosher, sure, except when I didn't. I was angry. In reality, I was very sad. Which is a very, very beautiful sentence, Stam. I was angry, right? But in reality, I was very sad. I was upset at my family, at my friends, at my Creator. While it is true that I should have blamed only myself for the situation I put myself in, I was simply not ready to accept responsibility for what I had done. Fast forward to 5777, Chai Elul, the day the Baal Shem Tov's soul came into the world. It was an Erev Shabbos. I sat in my cell and pondered the meaning of life. The past 2 weeks had been a completely downward spiral. I had stopped putting on tefillin, I did not keep kosher. I was not doing well at all. But at some point, a few hours before Shabbos, something inexplicably sparked within me. It was the sudden realization of what the Baal Shem Tov stood for, and what he wanted us to know, what he worked so hard to spread, and what we are experiencing a reawakening of in our generation. The Baal Shem Tov wanted each of us to remember that there is a Creator in the world who is also your Father, and that this Father loves us deeply and cares about our every move. That this Father is impacted to his core, so to speak, by everything we do. The Baal Shem Tov wanted us to know that our Father is busy building passageways for us, preparing the roads for our journey. This Father cares if we are hot or cold, if we are healthy or not. The Baal Shem Tov taught that while we may at times wonder, where is He and why is this happening to me? He is standing right there whispering, perhaps even shouting out loud, just keep going forward, my dear precious child, just keep going forward. The Baal Shem Tov wanted us to know that even at the worst of times, Hashem is still loving us and cradling us, that every groan and sigh is holy, that a parak in Tehillim moves worlds, and that our Abba is waiting for us to walk toward Him with outstretched arms, just like parents who crouch a few feet from their child, waiting for them to walk for the very first time. All of this and more was passing through my head on this particular Friday afternoon, Chai Elul, in my prison cell, and my heart was on fire. I showered, I got dressed, I headed to the minyan we have here for the first time in weeks. I davened Mincha and Kabbalah Shabbos with an indescribable fire. What can I say? A few years have passed in this place and I'm going strong with the help of Hashem. I've delved into the works of Chassidus that add fuel to my dancing flame. I've shared this holy work with those around me, specifically the teachings of Rabbeinu Nachman of Breslov's Chus Yagen Aleinu, and many others. And while I am still far from our Father, I also know how close I am to Him. This is his message. Chai El, special Yid, Mamash, remarkable Yid.
This is someone you know.
This is someone I know, yeah. Yeah, fairly well.
Is he out now?
He is not out. But as is Hashem, we hope very soon. Okay.
A minion in a prison.
No, it's not in Israel. No, not at all.
So not in England.
America.
Not at all.
America.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are a number of minyanim in many prisons. Unfortunately.
My brother-in-law has,
Yeah.
he's a chaplain in the prison, so he.
Thanks for coming, Urbana.
I don't know if you ever need it, but I know that he helped Rashkin. He's
Okay.
in charge of.
We'll get the info.
But interesting. I don't know why was that Baal Shem Tov the meaning of Chayelul. So I know I don't remember where it come, but in Chabad is known that his neshama came down to bring chayes to the Jewish people. They had fainted. They were in a complete. It was more than a sleep. They were in a fainted.
Like a coma.
Because it was after
slumber.
Shabbat Tzvi and everything. So Hashem cared for his people. He said, I need to wake them up. When someone faints, what do? You call their name. That's why his name was Israel. And that's why Elul, because it's a preparation, the close moment we get closer to Hashem, and within that month, Chai.
Beautiful.
That was his purpose, was to bring Chayas to Avodah, to Torah, to mitzvahs.
Bediuk. You say Chai El is that Nila Dodi V'Dodi Li. That is the the Baal Shem Tov's whole message. There's a relationship here. There's a vitality. Chayel. Okay, so Be'ez Hashem will have copies next week, hopefully, and they'll be available for purchase for £15. Hi, thanks for coming. Lechem Shalom. Okay, so let's jump in. Be'ez Hashem came right on time, mamish, just on time. So let's turn the page to the paragraph that begins Kishute Ashchinta. Kishute Ashchinta. Okay? Kishute Ashchinta means the decorative adornments of the Shechina, which we're going to learn a little bit about now, but really we've been speaking about for weeks at this point. We're speaking about the connection between the Mashpia and Mekabel coming together, the Chassan and the Kala, Yasis Alayich Lekoyach, Kimtzos Chassan al Kala, and the correlation between that experience in all the aspects of the Mekabel, of the Kala, being lit up with the light of the Mashpia, as that being the synonymous with leaving Galus and going into a state of Geula, which is why these are the two themes, as we've spoken about at length in the previous weeks, in Lecha Dodi, where on the one hand it's all about marriage, it's all about the unity of husband and wife, and it's all about getting out of Galus and going into a state of Geula, which we now understand to be one and the same, in the sense that Galus, being estranged from our place, being in a state of disconnection, being in a state of fragmentation, being in a state of living life knowing somewhere deep inside that all is not right, that there's something broken, there's something empty, there's a void. So ultimately that's the state of pirud between the chassan and the kala. Right? That's the aspect of a person who's alone, right? And understanding the spiritual root of Isha and Ish. So we described at length, it's the Mekabel and the Mashpia. And when the chassan and the kala unite, so then the great light of Ba'archa, like you use this lashon, Ba'archa nira'ar, the great light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes down and everything's illuminated. And Shabbos is a taste of that time, Be'ezras Hashem, very soon, where there's going to be Geula in the world. And the whole world will be filled with that light. Okay, so now we're going weiter a little bit further in this topic and concept. Okay, so says the Heiliger Rav Kluger, Shlita, Kach bechlalus nafshus Yisrael, hanikra knesses Yisrael, shchinta, the same concept applies for the whole collectivity of the soul of Am Yisrael throughout all the generations and all over the world. We're all sparks of one entity that's called Knesset Yisrael. The Shchinta, Hashem's indwelling presence in the world. Mikar called Nishmas Yisrael, which is the Tanya Kadisha he brings from the Tanya, brings that the Tanya teaches that the Shechina is the Mekar Kol Nishmas Yisrael. It's like the womb from which all the separate neshamas of Am Yisrael, with their own nefesh, ruach, neshama, chai, yichida, and all the different mixtures of all the different naran chai, of all the Gilgulim through all of history, but it's all one spark. It's one spark. And in that sense, there's fundamental unity between one Jew and the next, as the Tanya writes in what's called Lev HaTanya and Perek Lamed Beis, right? That really, we're just Av Echad L'Kulana. We're all one. Mamish all one. The Kach bepratus, and the same thing is true bechol bayis miYisrael likras haShabbos. What happens in each Jewish home as we come close to Shabbos? Sham ashbia oise b'tikunai shalom hakabel begadim v'kishutim noim b'chdei la'oyer bayis haratzon lias kli l'kabalas hashefa. Here's this fascinating thing. We have rooted, and I don't just think it's culturally, I think that it's culturally because it's deeply rooted into the human nature, where you have this thing of husbands buying, or even boyfriends, let's say, but you have this concept that the male is buying certain decorative, what are they called? Adornments, earrings, back in the day, nose rings, bracelets, different things, or even other kinds of clothing is not so common, but at least, what are these things called? Jewelry. Thank you. Right? Is where the word Jew comes from, Anyway, so jewelry, they're buying jewelry for their bride, right? And for their wife, and etc. And this is a strange thing, because on the one hand, presumably, it's something that the Kala appreciates. It's a gift for her. She likes when she wears something, she looks in the mirror, she looks beautiful, and it's mitzad that, it's a beautiful gift for her. But interestingly enough, be'oimek, here is something that he's gifting her, but it's really nogea to him, because to the extent that she taka looks attractive to him, Memela, it's in a sense ends up being for both of them, because it increases the bond between them, it increases the love, it increases the connection between them. So Rav Kluger says, obviously anything that exists in Olam Hazeh, down to the smallest, tiniest nuance of all of nature, certainly, but specifically about the human being, right? It was a mini tzelem elokim. Nothing's random. There's there's nothing out of place. Everything in this realm is rooted in the back end code kaviyachol of all the different dynamics in the spiritual realm beyond, as revealed by the Zohar Kodesh coming up to Lag BaOmer. We'll speak hopefully about Rashbi a little bit later, and the Ariyah Kodesh and the Ramak and so on and so forth throughout the Dairis. So where does this come from? What is this inyan of the husband giving his wife a bracelet that's a gift for her, but also increases the connection between them? So if you remember, we spoke in the very beginning of our shiur on Ana B'Koyach, the first stanza, Ana B'Koyach Gedula Simincha Tater Tzura. Do you remember what we said about Ana B'Koyach Gedula Simincha? What was Gedula Simincha? Do you remember? We said it was a long time ago. Right, obviously, tremendous amount of chesed. What was the Gedula Simincha? The extra burst of chesed. I'll give you a hint. We said that stam chesed is that there's a kli, and a Kodesh Baruch Hu fills it with chesed. Right? That's stam. Hey, thanks for coming. Right? That's on a simple level. What's Gedula Simincha? Gedula Simincha, we said, is when there's no kli even, and a Kodesh Baruch Hu first helps us build the kli, then he fills it. That's Gedula Simincha. If you take a look in the Sefer Chavos HaTamid, then you flip the page over. First of all, so you don't have to see the cholesterol stain, the cholent stain, and then you'll see over there, right? So on the one hand, we said that so this is what the Chavos HaTamid, the Mamash writes. If you take a look in Hachsharas Avrechem, he says that really the whole gilui of Hasidus specifically, the whole gilui of the Baal Shem, and all the Nahar and Nahar Pasha, all the different streams of Hasidus, is that before the Baal Shem Tov, there was a great focus on the way in which, Halavai even, but let's say people that were Pnimius oriented, you can find the Shechina in the Kalim of the physical world. He writes this explicitly. He says there are Kalim, there's Olam Asiyah, and if you know how to develop, the way of perceiving or interacting or engaging with the world through the prism of Emunah that's strengthened through all the different mitzvahs, ma'asiyos, like we've mentioned many times, you could find the ruchnius in the world. So says the Hachsharas Avreichim, it says the Baal Shem Tov came to teach that not only can you find ruchnius in the physical kalim, but that it turns out that the physical kalim are themselves ruchni. That even the kalim are ruchni. That was the revelation of the Baal Shem Tov. Right? That it's not simply, there's a world of gashmias, and if you look deep enough, you could find the ruchnius in there. There is no gashmias. There is no, it's total gilui hashchina, where literally you start to see everything as part and parcel of the gilui elikus, not just in terms of its potential, but just on the face of it. Mamish. Okay. So this connects to what we're saying. I'll remind you when we spoke about Gedulas Yemincha. So Rav Sasson, who we were learning from then about Ana B'Koyach, connected the pasuk Yemin Hashem Roimeima. You remember Yemin Hashem Oisa Chayil. So he says Chayil is the kli. It's the bechin of Eishes Chayil. That's the nekeva. That's the makabel. He says, you know what we mean when we speak about Gedulas Yemincha Hashem? The incredible extra chesed is the same Yemin. That's Yemin Hashem, that Oisa Chayil. You create the Kli, then you're mashpia into it. Meaning you in a Chanami, we have to build a vessel so that we receive Shefa from a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and we all want so much, and we all need so much, and we're all davening for so much. So that's on us, right? Kifiyar Bechira, let's say, Mida Keneged Mida, that Hanhagas HaMishpat, okay. But then a Yid realizes that even my bechira, meaning even my efforts, b'pnim pnimius is weiter. It's all Eibishter. It's weiter HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's weiter Hashem, who is allowing me, right? Hu hanoisin lecha koyach lasos chayil. Hu hanoisin. So even lasos, whatever it is that you're doing, hu hanoisin lecha koyach lasos chayil. And that's the oimek of what we said previous year. Now we're getting a little bit off topic. I want to bring it back. Not really off topic, but just off the page more. But this correlates with what we said, that the ultimate hashkafa and the ultimate perspective and the ultimate, like I would say, consciousness of Shabbos is captured in that pasuk, Sheishes Yamim Te'aseh Melacha. That from the standpoint of Shabbos, you look back in the 6 days of the week, which presumably we did, right? Sheishes Yamim Tasav Asisa Kamalach Techa, right? It's the six days of the week. It's up to us to build and to construct and to accomplish and to develop and to evolve, our circumstances. So presumably, again, Sheishes Yamim, or the Sheishes Yamim, so that's for me to do. Then if Yom HaShvi, you can rest, right? And that's what Shabbos is. But based on this pasuk, it's very deep, because once you get to Shabbos, and we mamish put on the pair of glasses, that's called Shabbos, and we look back at our week through Shabbos glasses. You go to that other pasuk, and I think it's in Vayikra Devarim, where it says Sheishes Yamim Te'aseh Melacha, right? Where the Rebbe, the Lubavitch Rebbe, points this out in Likutei Sichos. He says Te'aseh Melacha means that from the standpoint and the perspective of Shabbos, which is on a bekoyach, which is hu hanois and chakayach lasis chayil, which is yimin Hashem reimemo, yimin Hashem oisachal, which is on a bekoyach gedulas yimincha, and we're going to get into kashute hashchinta in a minute. You look back and you realize even what I thought I did was actually all Hashem. Even the kelim gashmiim is all Kodesh Baruch Hu. We spoke about this at length 2 weeks ago with the Jim Newman syndrome. Remember we spoke about that, who ended up seeing the video, Baruch Hashem, and we had a very lengthy conversation today by WhatsApp also. So, la'at, very, very slowly, but hopefully surely. You realize that Shabbos is an Ein Olam Haba, where this is all Ein Sof. This is all Ein Olam Vada Kipshutei Mamish. That's Shabbos. And that's also a connection between why we say Ana B'Kayach on Shabbos and Ana B'Kayach right before Lecha Dodi. Because Lecha Dodi is this yichud. Lecha Dodi is the ultimate yichud, where the Zohar Kodesh says that in the place where the mashpia is revealed, so it's ki'ilu nukva less, what's the lashon? Less mandakar shema, or something like this. In the place where the mashpia is, so the makabel is kilu part and part of the mashpia. Just like Chava was essentially part of Adam, and then they're separated. But when the mashpia is revealed in the whole force of it, it's the aspect also what we said in Ana B'Kayach of Yachid Geya. Remember Yachid? Yachid meant that Hashem is the only category, and everything else that is already within Yachid. It's all one thing. This is the Or of Shabbos. This is the Gilui of what we experience on Shabbos Kodesh. Let's look back inside. Memela, now we're speaking about this concept of the mashpia buying jewelry kiviyachol for the kala, and in so doing, it's ma'orer the connection between them. That's what's going on. That's what's going on Shabbos. As the Heilige Arizal writes in the Piyut that many of us have a minute to sing on Friday night, Azamber B'Shvachin, where there's a stanza there. Maybe we'll get to that and our shiur on the Friday night Shabbos Suda eventually. Yemina usmoila, from the right and from the left, ubenayu kala. And in this embrace is the Kala, is the Shechina, is Am Yisrael. Bikishutin Azla. She walks with jewelry, umanin, ulavushin, and different adornments and different beautiful lavushin. Now, who gave her those the jewelry and everything? Who hanoisin lecha kayach lasis chayil? Remember, it's Hashem. Hashem is giving us this. Is giving us all these aspects. Okay, but kula misatrim rishmas and chadatin. So what does this mean? Yeah, I think that's where we're up to. One second. Yeah, that's the next page. Yeah. The kula misatrim rishmas and chadatin. This comes from Raza de Shabbos, which the Sfard has the minhag at least of saying before and Nusach Hari, right? I assume before Mariv. Umikan navil havin. Kama simcha yesh b'pnimius nefesh Yehudi be'ez Kabbalah Shabbos. Now we can understand the incredible joy that we ought to feel in the deepest depths of our neshama when it comes Kabbalah Shabbos. What we should be feeling then, and again, it's happening regardless. Like it doesn't matter how much you're aware of it or not, but to the extent that you're going to feel it emotionally is how much you know about it. Otherwise, you'll be completely oblivious, and then you'll just carry on, and you're going to, person just wants to rush home to eat some whatever they're eating, right, for Friday night. But if a person is aware of the gravity of the moment, what's taking place, what's being revealed in this moment, in those very moments, there's an incredible unity. The revelation of the chassan, so to speak. That until this moment, like the whole week, there's a separation, and I'm me, and Hashem is him, and sort of, we're still Isaac and Biruim, and we're still Isaac and all the avodas that we're doing through Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv, and Seder and learning, whatever our roles, our positions, how much time we are able to devote to overtly religious activities. Sure, that's during the week, but it's still not B'yichud Gomer, because still he's him, and I'm me, and then we connect.
It's interesting that Plag Mincha is a very essential.
Interesting. Plag, right. Plag gufa. It's keilu, these are two separate things. But in this moment of yichud, which is what Shabbos is, miskayim bahem, sameach to samach rei ma'ahuvim. There's a tremendous simcha that we ought to feel in that moment, plugging into the true, real reality of Sheishis Yamim Te'asa Malacha. That really, he's me and I'm him, and it's all him. It's all him. Okay, Divrei Rabbeinu HaKadosh, like Rabbi Nachman Schusia Gemalenu writes in Sichas Haran, Kisha Oimrim, that when a Yid says Friday night, Bekula in Misatrin B'nishmasim Chadatin, that all of them, meaning a reference to all of Am Yisrael, are crowned Misatrin B'nishmasim Chadatin with new souls. Says Rabbi Nachman Roylis Ar Ma'oid B'Simcha Gedola V'Slavas Gadol. That those moments, we should try to work up within ourselves a proliferation of tremendous ecstasy, a tremendous joy. Because based on what we just said about Plag Gufa, it turns out that the Nishmas and Chadatin, what does it mean? Why do we get new Neshamas? We speak about the Neshama Yisera, but essentially what we're saying here is that our half Neshama becomes complete. That Lav Dafka, it's a new Neshama, but it's the completion of this very limited version of perspective that we ordinarily have on ourselves, where we're not fully conscious of the true picture, of the true reality, which only Shabbos affords us that time to put aside all other aspects of our life, to put aside the concept of koich va'otzim yadi asali esachayla, where a person thinks that I did it. No. Who hanais and the lecha koich lasischayla? That life itself, with everything that we merit to accomplish or endeavor to do, it's all a gilui elikus. There is no me. That's on Shabbos. There is no me.
Yeah.
So I think that I think that I have a name, and I think that I have a past and a present and a future, and I think that I have my ambitions and I have the thing. And really, if you really contemplate it, but it's hard to do on a Thursday night even. It's easier to do with this chaver, but it's still hard to do on a Thursday night. But on Shabbos, I don't begin somewhere. There's no place where now, okay, here's me. Here's where Yaakov Klein begins and sort of unfolds. Ein Sof flowing through me. And the same for all of us. Now, very difficult to live that way all the time. We're not supposed to live that way all the time. And even on Shabbos, it's incredibly difficult. But at least in the moments of Kabbalah Shabbos, to realize that all these things that I think make me, just because I look in the mirror and I have a physical body and I sense that, and I have a past and a present and a future, and I have my memories and experiences and my family dynamics and my communal affiliations, and I have my name and my reputation, and I have the etc. It's all kechalom yauf. It's all. This is not where it's at. It's nothing. It's a tzelem Elokim. It's a gilui of Elokos. And that's an incredibly powerful thing. And therefore, I'm no longer plag gufa in that moment. In that moment, I open up to the depth of who I am that's so much deeper than who I am. It's just what we all are. What is, I would say. And that's Neshama Yisera. The neshama is completed in that moment, and that ought to give a person pause and cause for tremendous joy. Yeah.
Interesting to mention this particular line about the Shabbos there's two nuskos that people use on Friday night to daven. One is a simcha dik one, and one is a less simcha dik one. Those that say Rosh Shabbos tend to use the simcha dik one at the end. It's an interesting thing.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Are you saying nischais?
Yes, and I wonder if it's connected to the concept of being the simcha at the end of Rosh Shabbos.
It's fascinating. Fascinating, yeah. Yeah, what is chos? Okay, let's go a bit weiter. So, Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha, Vihine. Behemshech HaCharuzin is scarred in Kama Mishpatam Mashiacham LeBeis HaMikdash V'Yerushalayim Be'ez HaChurban. As the stanzas unfold, there are a number of different concepts that are shaykh to the Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim at the time of the Churban. Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha, right? The palace of the king, Ir Melucha, the city of Hashem's Malchus. Kumi tzii mitoy chafecha. Stand up, arise from amidst the upheaval. Rav Lach Shebes be'emek habacha. Wow, it's Hashem. The Shekhinah has been sitting for so long. Be'emek habacha, in the valley of tears. V'hu yachman l'lai chemla. But now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is coming to have mercy on you. Shala Eis Kabbalah Shabbos Karin La Latzis Mi Matzav Achurba Ma'Galas Ala Matzav Boy Hoy Yisrael B'Tifartam. So now has come the time to call upon the Plag Gufa, to call upon the Shechina that's not connected to Kudsha Brichu, to call upon all of this limited, caricature-oriented vision of what life is, which is B'chlal not the real thing, where we think that we're separate, we think that we're cut off. And in this moment we're called upon to rise. To rise. To rise into a state of tiferes, of splendor. Which will be revealed at the time of the Geula. Umuvan, and it's understood, sheyesh kesher bein Shabbos lebein Geula. Obviously, there's a deep connection between Shabbos and the ultimate redemption, behind which is what does it really mean? And again, we've spoken all this out already. What does it mean for Am Yisrael to be in Galus that began with the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash and Yerushalayim? Is hukamatzav hamekabel l'loy mashpia. It's very simple. Am Yisrael are taken out of the house. Am Yisrael are taken out of the home. Am Yisrael are cast away to chutz la'aretz. Am Yisrael are estranged from yichud, from unity, which the Beis HaMikdash is that place. The Beis HaMikdash is the tel talpiyas. The Beis HaMikdash is like the neck, bundle the talpiyas. In Shir HaShirim, because the neck is the place of intimacy, of unity between the mind and the heart, right? Between the mashpia, which is the midas, the emotions, and the das, like the Tanya tells, Mayach shalat ala leiv. But there was a disconnect. There was a disconnect, and that means that in the construct of klalius, in that relative framework of erechin, which we've been speaking again and again and again in different ways throughout our shiurim, we, klape kutshabrichu, klape Hashem, are the midas, klape the moichin, right? Meaning Hashem is the intentionality of creation, the motivation, the guide. Hashem gives us the guidance, objective morality, the way to live life and the way that life is meant to be lived. And you and I are really here, ostensibly, to receive that wisdom, that guidance, that aur of Torah, hamalami Torah la'am Yisrael, and we're like the lave, we're the midas. We're here to be mekabel that guidance and to put it into practice, so that we allow it to impact us also, like a neshama to a guf. And that's the matzav of what the Beis HaMikdash looked like, the neck that combines the moichin and the heart. But once the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed and the connection is severed and the Shekhinah is also, it goes up and up and up and up and up, and in a certain way it's also gala with us. But certainly the light of the mashpia is ascending, is concealed. So then Am Yisrael remain kimekabel bli mashpia. It's like we've lost touch with the clarity of knowing, mamish knowing, nisim gluyim, knowing that Hashem is with us, that Hashem is accompanying us. And of course, this is the challenge of Bechira, and this is the challenge of Emunah, and Emunah Schabal Leilais, and this is where the work is over the Sheishes of Miyamai. So that's not complaining about that. That's where the work is. But can you compare it to a time of Geula when we knew that on that place, on that platform, was built the Beis HaMikdash, be'emes. And no matter where Yid lived in the world, he knew that there's a place where there are nisim gluyim. He knew there's avodah being done ceaselessly, non-stop. He knew that 3 times a year there's a place where we go and we're reconnected to our source. That there's a complete unveiling, kiviyachol, of the heavens above and the aretz mitachas to show that ein oid milvadai. But after all,
between the ma and the me.
Huh?
There's a connection between the ma and the me.
Explain.
Yaakov Avinu came to the place of man eramokim hazeh, enze kim bezer shar shemayim. The first 2 letters are man. The last 2 letters are me. Shemayim, the end of shemayim is yidneh. That's the It's the connection of.
Beautiful, right? Nachon. So this is disconnected. Or some mi bara eila. We there's a disconnect between the eila, scattered eila lechacha Yisrael, the scattered fragmentation of Am Yisrael, yeshnei am echad mefuzar mefayer ben am, and the me, which is the presence of Hashem. So that's what happened in a state of galus mekabel b'li mashpia. Shekin Yerushalayim oyamachon hamayachel bebusho klima. Yerushalayim came this place which is just ever longing, in a state of busho klima, kekadol bala, like a person that's just waiting for their other half. Ligol me'ashevi ulahachol b'soichas Hashem, and all it wants is to be saturated again with the presence of the divine. Lefikach, therefore, gam b'tkufas hagalus, even in the time of galus, b'chol ma'ira uzmana ma'iras hayichad elyon, each and every moment in time and each and every experience where we can channel that or elyon, u'gagoyin kasher kala nasas nechneshes l'chuppah, or beis knisas haShabbos, like by an actual wedding, which you described at length, right? Being able to tap into the real or of the joy, what's taking place at a chasana, which we mentioned, or like we're discussing now when Shabbos comes in. This has an impact because it's the same spiritual thing. Yerushalayim and the Kala and Am Yisrael and Erev Shabbos. It's all one concept. It's all one gilui. Memela, when there's an aliyah to one, there's an aliyah to the other, even if it happens very subliminally and indirectly. That means that every single time, as is Hashem, everybody that's looking for their other plag gufa, but as Hashem, when people are zoche to a chuppah, to a chasana, it brings Yerushalayim habenuya, Yerushalayim that will be benuya, just one step closer. It really does. It really does, because the parts of, so to speak, the kaima shlema of the Shechina, as it's manifest in the aspect of a kala getting together with our chasin, is directly correlated to Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh and the Yerushalayim Shalmala, and coming down and being miyachid, those 2 things together. See, he says, Memela, Harigam Yerushalayim is alul arza yichud. Yerushalayim also has an aliyah. It also starts to taste a little bit of the revelation of the mashpia. Uke matbeya habracha shemavarchim b'nisuyin, like the bracha that we make under the chuppah. Sais tasis v'sagel ha'akara b'kibbutz baneha l'saycha b'simcha. Right. So what's that a reference to? Obviously, Yerushalayim. B'kibbutz baneha l'saycha b'simcha, like rachel mavakal baneha. We should come back to Yerushalayim. What shaykhis? Why are we making a bracha here about Yerushalayim under the chuppah? Does one thing have to do with the other? And the answer is they have everything to do with the other. In fact, there is no other because they're the same thing. They're kapshuta, the same thing. And when this happens, Yerushalayim is redeemed. The chayismim, and they close bebirchas asher bara shabamavakshan al binyan Yerushalayim mehera Hashem alekeinu yisham bar yudu v'chutzis Yerushalayim, etc. Ki hayichud b'dargas adam. Because the yichud that is revealed on the strata of existence, that is the dynamic between a husband and a wife, hu hadarga halyoina shababrim, is the highest gilui of the yichud that can exist within the natural world. Because Adam is Salam Elokim, and the yichud husband and wife is the greatest yichud there could possibly be. But now the whole creation is essentially lacking all the while that we're not yet at the stage where there's the ultimate Giloi, the Yom Shekulei Shabbos leading into the Yom Hashmini, which is like even beyond that. But the whole world is yearning for the light of what we call the guide, right? The light of the guide. The guide. Was there ever a people in the history of the world that were collectively more aware of this? That always knew this is not where it's at, that always knew that the world has to be better. We spoke about, you remember last week, being against the status quo, being people that are always trying to improve the world in one way or another. So much so that we, in our very national experience, became a chariot for that wandering Shekhinah. We were always incomplete. We were never at home anywhere. And the same Spain, yesterday that recognized Palestine, is the same Spain that kicked us out. It's sort of the same repeating mahalach where there's sort of no place for the Jews in the world, right? Not necessarily does the recognition of the state of Palestine. It's not getting into that right now, but that's just a meme that I saw, and maybe there's some truth to that. It's like Am Yisrael have been wandering and wandering and wandering and wandering. We've never had a home. And that means to say that in our experience of not having a home, you remember when Am Yisrael were sent into Galus, the Shekhinah went into Galus with us. We are the mekaver for the Shekhinah. Like the Talmud Devar says, even a single person that goes into Galus, Sivrei al Hashem alikav, I think the Talmud Devar says, Al tikr Sivrei al Shivrei al Hashem alikav. That when a person becomes broken, he carries Hashem alikav. Alikim is always the Shekhinah. He carries the Shekhinah with him. That's an experience of what the Shekhinah must feel separated, again, from this clear revelation of godliness. This is the nation. We have a schus of being a part of the people who are davening. Higalena. Ribbana Shalom, reveal yourself. And spread, my beloved, spread upon me the sukkah shleimecha, the abode, which of course is a reference to the Beis HaMikdash, Sukkah David, Sukkah Shleimecha, the abode of your peace, of your wholeness, of your full revelation. Ta'ir eretz michveidecha, let the whole earth be filled with your kavod, which is the Shekhinah. Nagila v'nismecha bach, and then we go back to the simcha of sameach to samach rei mahuve. Nagila v'nismecha bach. Maher ehoiv kivamayed, because this is the time where we can allow ourselves to taste of that real reality. This is the side of what's taking place. Kabbalah Shabbos, when there's also a yichud between Shabbos and the 6 days of the week, which in their own sense, remember, is also mashpia mekabel, like we talked about at length, where in that sense Shabbos is the mashpia, the mekar habracha, to the 6 days of the week that will follow. There's a yichud there too. Harezu geulas hazmanim. This is what's referred to here as the geulas hazmanim, the redemption of time. And their elevation, or the elevation of the experience of time, into the full Giloy of Hashem in the world. Because again, at that moment is taking place a tremendous unity and intimacy between Kodesh B'richu, the transcendent element of Hashem, as Hashem, the light of the Creator, and the creation. Right, and then that time reveals this pu'ula. And to reveal everything that Shabbos has to reveal to us. Here we'll just speed read to the end, a couple of minutes left. So at that time, when the Zman, so to speak, that the parts of Zman, so that, the realm or the aspect of creation that is time, is revealed with this, illuminated with the light of Shabbos. So then is the time to call out to Yerushalayim, because it's the same concept. And we tell Yerushalayim, Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha Kuni Tzei Mitaycha Afecha. Make use of this opportunity. Right now there's a Gilui happening. There's what's called in the Zohar Kodesh Aliyah Sa'olamas. It's Yom Nishmasa, the guf, so to speak, of the parts of time, which is the 6 days of the week, is illuminated with the light of the neshama, which is Shabbos. Hisnari me'afar kumi, shake off the dust, arise, live she big day sefartech ami. Tiferes is always kutshabrichu. Not getting into that now. Big day sefartech ami, that we should connect Ami as the Shechina with Tiferes, with kutshabrichu. Al Yad ben Yishai beis halachmi through Mashiach ben David, Karval nafshi ga'ala. Come to my soul and let me experience again, same thing, redemption. His Ayri kiva Ayrich kumi Ayri, the time has come. Uri shir daberi k'fayda Hashem alayich nigla. There's a revelation, not a plag gufa anymore. Kulam es atrum and ishmasin chadatin. There's a realization. Hu anayis and achakayach lasas chayil kishute shchina. The realization that I was just a plag gufa during the week, but the truth is, sheishis yamim te'asem malacha. It was all done for me. Yimen Hashem aisa chayil, etc. Loisi call me mata shtoichicho mata hemi bach yechso ani ami v'nivnesa ir al tila. Why? Kikasher nifala yichud, because when the yichud is revealed in the world, misayreresh shleimus ha'aras k'fayda yizbarach ba'olam ve'isku ulaba. In all the different aspects of creation that share this spiritual concept, that share this spiritual root of the aspect of mekabel or guf or everything else that we said, isha, kala, v'chulei, the geula has come. A taste of the redemption is revealed. So we turn to start to bring some nachama to the city. That it need not sit any longer in the valley of tears. That it should shake off the dust. And to wear the clothes of its glory. Because Kiviyachol, the Mashpia, Hashem, the Creator, is calling out to the experience of creation. To reveal within it the Kedusha of Hashem. And in that moment, the light of Geula is shining in the world, Yamim, both in the aspect of time, which is Yamim, Shabbos, Ve'hein li Yerushalayim, and once Yerushalayim is Zman is space, Makom, Ula Nefashis, Karva al Nafshi Ga'ala, which is Nefesh, right? And these are the three basic realms that all of creation is split into. And the Sefer Tzir tells us, Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. Olam is space, physical, spatial reality, Yerushalayim. Shana, Zman, Shabbos. Nefesh, the Jewish soul. And Lecha Dodi really makes reference to all these three things happening, which essentially is rooted in the parts of Zman. That's what Shabbos is right now. It's taking place in Yichud. And in as much as the Yichud takes place in one sliver or one facet of reality, Memela, it is triggered in the other facets. That's why Lecha Dodi, we refer to space, which is Yerushalayim, in many different ways. And we are referring to our own nefashos and all the aspects of Yasas Alayich Alakoyach and so on. So let's finish up with just the last segment, which is going to connect to Lag BaOmer, just a few more minutes. And this is very crucial. Based on this, we can understand more deeply what's brought in the Sfar Makdashim. That the only way to really connect to Shabbos is through connection to tzaddikim. Kidikasvu Maranat, like Reb Nassan writes, many tzaddikim write, that there's a deep kesher between the concept of the tzaddik and the concept of Shabbos. Take a look in the footnote. We'll do this quickly. It says the Likutei Halachos from Reb Nassan. The Iker Kedusha Shabbos yi efshel lahamshich al atzmeki mekayach tzaddik emes. The only way, or the primary way, to access the light of what Shabbos really is, beyond the eating, drinking, sleeping, a day off from work, but to mamish access the Arav of Shabbos is only through the tzaddikim sheheim b'china Shabbos, that they themselves are Shabbos embodied kiviyachol. Like it says about the Heilige Zisa Rashbi, Schusay Yagan Aleinu, where the Chavraya Kadisha, his Talmidim, looked at Rashbi and they pointed to him, and what did they tell him at the very end of his life? Ant Shabbos de Kula Yoimin. They said, you Rabbi Shimon, you are Shabbos. And they referred to Rabbi Shimon as Shabbos. And these two things are connected. The more a person prepares to really live Shabbos properly, the more you're zeicha to get close to true tzaddikim. Who give you a love, and the more you get close to tzaddikim, that the deeper Shabbos becomes. A person learns teachings like these, which is all from the tzaddikim. Shabbos changes, and the more Shabbos changes, the more you recognize, wow, like how much we need tzaddikim. How could it be that a person lives Yiddishkeit without his kashrus to tzaddikim? It's impossible. It's impossible. Aminu ba'Hashem uve ma'isha avdai. These two things go hand in hand. There's the b'chin of Torah Shebiksav and Torah Shebal. Can't have one without the other. The tzaddikim are the ones that are giving us the tam of Torah, particularly those that are connected to the installment of Rashbi throughout the Dairis, Pnimiyas HaTorah. The Kedusha Shabbos, Kein Zeich L'Kedusha Shabbos, Ad She'yizka L'Tshuva Shleima. Until we can come to real Tshuva. B'chol Makam Asher Husham. Regardless of where you're at in your life, whatever's going on, through Shabbos and Tzaddikim, you can mamish fix your life. We can come to total tikkun, ulischazik al amdai, and we can live a life of spiritual confidence, never to allow ourselves to fall, meaning into despair. No matter how difficult circumstances look, the bechinas ba'atzia sha'ol hineka, like David Malach says, when I sink down to the depths of hell, hineka, because even in the kelim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's there, even in mistakes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's there, in every darkness, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's there, v'chulei. That's the light of the message of Shabbos and the light of the message of the tzaddikim, primarily those who were connected to the revelation of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, about whom was said, "Ant Shabbos, you are Shabbos to Kuli Yom." Back inside, well, if we have a vuar back on top, F shalavar oid beinin zeh, we can explain. Ki atzadik umarkav liyichud kutzbruchu shchinte v'tachlis hashleimus. What's the whole job of the tzaddik? The tzaddik is a person who brings back the aspect of the Beis Hamikdash in his life, because it's an aspect of biyadata hayoim v'ashivoisa el livavecha ki Hashem u'elikim. That's what the tzaddik is. The tzaddik is a person who mamish takes everything he knows and lives in accordance with that. Bishleimus. Bishleimus. The tzaddik is the revelation of heaven down in on earth. That's the aspect of Yichud Kudsha Baruch Hu Shchinte. Ukechol dargas mekabel mashpia. Now again, because we said that this aspect or dynamic between the giver and the receiver exists in every aspect of reality, so it also exists with our relationship to the tzaddik. Kain klal nafshis Yisrael heim bedargas mekablim klapav. The tzaddik is the mashpia, of course, literally, right? We refer to tzaddikim, rabbanos, they are mashpiim, right? They are the mashpia klape klal Yisrael, who come to receive Torah from them. Ulafikach, therefore, ba'agia ishmi Yisrael ala tzaddik, when a Jew comes to a tzaddik, biyoidai, with the knowledge, and this is absolutely crucial because it's a prerequisite for being makabel anything, is to recognize that you're missing something. Otherwise, I think as Matisyahu sings, if your cup's already full, now what does he say? If you're already there, then there's nowhere else to go. If your cup's already full, then it's bound to overflow, right? And he's 1,000% right. If a person doesn't feel anything's missing, there's nothing doing. But when a Yid comes to the tzaddik, b'yoidai, knowing shehu chaser ar, and he feels like I'm missing light in my life, which was the whole trajectory of Rav Nosson, who went from tzaddik to tzaddik to tzaddik to tzaddik. He was a huge goyin, Rav Nosson. He was a son-in-law by Rav Nosson David, I think his name Orbach, was one of the greatest gedolim and goyinim in that part of the Litvish world in Ukraine. Massive Rav, on top of many different constituencies of Rabbanim, and he was like the Paisik Hadar. And he took Rav Nosson as a son-in-law. He wasn't a small fry, he was a tremendous tzaddik. But he felt that Mashu Chaser, he's missing R. And he couldn't shut that voice out. And he went from Rebbe to Rebbe to Rebbe to Rebbe, till he came to Rabbi Nachman to find R. Because he realized that something was missing. And he realizes, like, I don't have it on my own. I'm missing something. I'm missing something crucial. I don't know what it is, but I can't do it on my own. When he's alone, without any help. This is the same aspect of being only half a person, being only half a guf. And he wants to come to the tzaddik so he can receive Ar Chaim. He can receive hadracha of what Shabbos should look like, of what tefillin should look like, tzitzis, parenting, relationships, ben adam l'makam, adam l'atzman, ben adam l'chaverai. Ar. So when a Yid comes, He says so beautifully, Biyadayim pshutas lekabel, with your hands open, like humbly, I'm ready to receive. Teach me. Nasa merkava l'shchinta. So in that moment, we're the aspect of the Shekhinah. Again, it's the same idea. It just shows up in many different dynamics and many different circumstances. We become the Mekabel. That's Tzadik Atzmai. Klape Mekabli Oire, Hariyah Merkava L'Kudshabrichu. He in that moment becomes a Merkava, so to speak. You have to understand it's delicate, right? It doesn't mean that he becomes Hashem. Chas v'shalom, he becomes the aspect of the Mashpia. From his standpoint, he's complete, and he's the one that's giving to those that are being Mekabel. So that's why there's a deep kesher between our connection to tzaddikim and the dynamic of Shabbos. And the more that we understand how to come into Shabbos, come into tzaddikim rather, as mekablim from them, Mamela, we can understand the dynamic of what's taking place on Shabbos, which is the yichud hashalim between mashpia and mekabel. Let's just finish. Ukasher achein zoicha mekabel yichud, and when the mekabel is zoicha to yichud, imagia bebitul ubidia brura, when a person comes with bittul and knowledge shahazoyar. Shazoyhar echad, uses this word zoyar, right? That one ray of illumination, me'ar zarua la tzaddik, from the light that's planted to the tzaddik, which is of course rooted in the capital Tehillim that we say right after the Lecha Dodi, ar zarua la tzaddik uliyishra lev simcha, right? Tzaddik hatamar Yifrach? Oh, and also.
It's before.
Before. Okay, Seder. But we say Tzaddik Hatamar Yifrach, right? That's how we end, right? That capital right after the Lecha Dodi, we make reference to the Tzaddik, realizing Shezoyar Echad Me'ar Zerul Tzaddik, that one little ray of the light that was planted for the Tzaddik, Yesh B'koich Lahar Esay Lamai, has the koyach to mamish illuminate his life. Nifal Yichud Kutcher Richu Shchinte. L'simcha v'ar mufla b'chol hadargas. There's again this unity and geula and simcha on all levels. Kvod Hashem Yisbarach Nizgali Yoser ba'olam. To the degree that Hasidim are coming to the Rebbe, to the degree that Talmidim are coming to their mashpia. So the light of Hashem is revealed in the world. Like you literally see, in a very literal way, that when a mamish a chassid, but really a chassid that comes with chisara, not because he happens to be part of this community and chassidus and this, but a person mamish comes with a real tshuka to grow. You can see how such a person's life is lit up, is illuminated. And it's all kafi, the way in which he's making himself a kli, so to speak, for the Shekhinah. So Memela, he comes and he's in galus, so to speak, right? And he is in a state of pirud and in a state of the isha without the bala of the chulei. And a person comes to the tzaddik, which is what all of us are doing when we're learning these teachings. Right? All of us come to learn from the tzaddikim, to open our hearts, to realize however long we've been keeping Shabbos and however our Shabbos looks, Mashu chaser, we need something bigger, we need something more, and we come with Yadayim Shutas Lekabel. We see what it does for our lives, right? When we inculcate these teachings, and that's a little hint for what Bigadol is happening on Shabbos in the parts of Zman, and therefore what's happening in the parts of Makom, of space, with regard to Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh. And in this sense, we take the journey from being Plag Gufim during the week to the moments of Kabbalah Shabbos, recognizing there's so much of a bigger picture here, and this is all part of the Gilui of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is, like we said, Yemincha Yemin Hashem Oisa Chayil Ki Hu Anoisen L'Chakoyach Lasis Chayil. The aspect of Keshute Shchinta, where Hashem is buying us the jewelry to make us look beautiful, kaviyachol, and then there's yichud, but it's him buying us the jewelry. He's the one that's doing it all along. And Mamela, it's all him. And Mamela, whatever I thought was me, was just me being carried by Kodesh Baruch Hu. And that's the light of Kabbalah Shabbos. Now we can understand on a deeper level, and we're just getting started, but why in Lecha Dodi we see these themes again and again? Galus to Geula, singlehood, let's say, or whatever it is, meaning estrangement, pirud, into the R of yichud, and the aspect of Yerushalayim going from a state of destruction to a state of being.
Must be the Shabbos in Yerushalayim must be something even more special.
Sure, and can you imagine Shabbos in Yerushalayim by your tzaddik? That's the pinnacle.
Don't think of it as being Shabbos in Yerushalayim.
That's the pinnacle. Never Shabbos in Yerushalayim? Wow. Okay. And if you think about it, if you want to think about it, we mentioned this in previous year, on a more focused level, that if Shabbos is the parts of Zman, and Yerushalayim generally is the parts of space, of Makom, and the Tzaddik is the parts of Nefesh, of the person, so then if you focus much more specifically, in a time, at least maybe in the first place, Hamikdash Halavai even, right? But the Kohanim Gedolim, when they were still mamish great tzaddikim before they started being bought and sold, right? So the Kohen Gadol is mamish the tzaddik, and Yom Kippur is Shabbos Shabbosim, and the Kodesh HaKadoshim is the holiest place. And so the tzaddikim say at that moment, the Kohen Gadol going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim on Yom Kippur it's like, it just breaks open all of reality. And then, whatever he was doing there, that the whole Ketores, we have no hasag of what that must have been. What that must have been. Not simple. Not simple. So now we can understand a little bit more the oimek of this. Ashreinu matayv chakenu. Okay, let's grab the...
The whole,
Thank you so much.
The whole meme.